Hello world, the Solarwinds hackers have launched a new offensive, quantum-safe cryptography is well on its way, Have I Been Pwned is teaming up with the FBI, and a guy lands himself in prison over an encrypted picture of a block of cheese. That's in today's episode of The Week Web, where we break down and dissect cybersecurity related tech news. The same group responsible for what was arguably the largest and most sophisticated hack ever is back at it again with a new series of escapades. This APT has a few names: Cozy Bear, Nobelium, Office Monkeys, Stellar Particle, and a myriad of other monikers, simply because each security company seems to have their own internal name for them. Anyhow, in their latest campaign, they compromised the US aid agency, which isn't a very high-value target in of itself, though the agency was just a means to an end, in that they somehow broke into the agency's Constant Contact account. Constant Contact is a mass emailing service used by government agencies and companies to send emails en masse to their mailing list. The miscreants put together this phishing email and sent it to the entire list. It claims that Donald Trump has published new documents on election fraud, with a couple links to download them. Usually phishing emails are sent from random looking email addresses, but of course this one was sent from the real US aid agency account. This agency works with many other government agencies and companies which will themselves be high value targets. Once a victim clicks the download link, an ISO image was downloaded to their computer. It contained 3 files: a dangerous DLL file which was hidden by default so the user wouldn't see it, but also an innocent PDF document and a not so innocent shortcut file. The shortcut was disguised with a folder icon in the hopes users wouldn't become suspicious. Of course, a shortcut like this probably wouldn't fool you or I, but to Karen working in HR, it'd probably be quite convincing. Upon opening the shortcut, a script was executed which runs that DLL, after which the system would have been pwned. Nobelium, as Microsoft likes to call them, would have persistent access to the compromised system, giving them scope to conduct lateral movement, data exfiltration, and delivery of additional malware. We don't know how many victims there were in this case, other than the US aid agency themselves, though Microsoft asserts that most of the emails will have been marked as spam, so that's good news, though some inevitably will have gotten through. This attack comes just weeks after the US imposed sanctions on Russia for the Solarwinds hack. It's quite obvious that those sanctions haven't deterred them, and it's business as usual. We can expect more from Cozy Bear, Nobelium, whatever you like to call them, in the future. Several new exciting developments in the realm of quantum cryptography. South Korea is planning large-scale adoption of the technology. In partnership with the US, quantum key distribution infrastructure is being built across South Korea, though it'll only be used in mission-critical super important applications such as nuclear emergency broadcasts, healthcare data, among other things. Quantum key distribution is a method of exchanging encryption keys in such a way to be certain via the laws of physics that no one is listening in on the communication. I'm not going to go in-depth on quantum key distribution, we'd need a whole video for that and I need to research it a lot more. But anyway, instead what I want to discuss is why this is really important and how the demise of cryptography as we know it could be a real concern. Though first we need a bit of a primer on quantum computing in the context of cybersecurity, why we might be screwed, but also not really at the same time. Quantum computers are still in their infancy. We have them, but the ones we have suck. Just like regular computers back in the 1960s were massive and slow, our quantum computers today are massive and slow. It could only be 5 years before we have useful quantum computers, or maybe it'll take 20 years, we just don't know. The problem is that when they arrive, they're going to be able to break a good chunk of the encryption we use today. This is more of a problem if they're here in the next 5 to 10 years. Quantum computing is only really useful for cracking asymmetric encryption. This is a problem because we use this kind of encryption a lot. Asymmetric encryption is the kind where you have a public key and private key. Anyone can use the public key to encrypt something, but only the person with the private key can decrypt it. Most encrypted web traffic uses this, think HTTPS for example. This kind of encryption is also really useful for digital certificates, where you can verify the authenticity of something because it was signed by the private key. Theoretically, all asymmetric encryption we're currently using is crackable by quantum computers. This is bad, but we're not completely screwed, because it has just been announced that researchers working on quantum-safe encryption algorithms have made a lot of progress and will be publishing new standards later this year. This means new encryption techniques resistant to cracking by quantum computers. That's great, but why the rush? If we're still 5 to 20 years away from proper quantum computers, surely we can just chill out and wait a bit. Well that leads on to another problem. There's great fear that adversaries could harvest data now and simply wait for the quantum future when they can crack that data. Sure, this isn't very useful for hackers that want to steal your credit card data by man-in-the-middling your internet traffic, as by the time quantum computers roll around, your credit card will have expired. However, for governments spying on each other or journalists, it's more feasible for them to record this data in the hopes of decrypting it in a few short years when the data is still relevant. This is why it's really important we adopt those quantum-safe encryption algorithms sooner rather than later. However, it should be mentioned that quantum computers don't impact all cryptography we use today. In particular, symmetric cryptography will remain largely unaffected by a quantum world, despite it being older and much more primitive than asymmetric encryption. Symmetric cryptography means only having one key for both encryption and decryption. However, it relies on everyone keeping that key safe, so it's not as useful as asymmetric encryption, apart from being largely quantum safe, as long as you increase the length of the keys a little bit. Have I Been Pwned is teaming up with the FBI. Have I Been Pwned, as I'm sure you're aware, is the website to go to when you want to know if your email or password has been included in a recent data dump. They get close to 1 billion requests every month. That's almost 400 requests per second. Last year, the creator Troy Hunt announced he was taking the site open source, which means anyone can spin up their own instance of the service. The code is already live on GitHub, as well as a 3D printable Have I Been Pwned logo. Bit random, but what's more interesting is that Have I Been Pwned is going to be supported by the FBI. The FBI, for obvious reasons, has way more access to pwned passwords than most other organizations. During their investigations and server seizures, you can imagine they will have scooped up quite a few passwords over the years, and so in the interests of cybersecurity, they're providing a feed of these passwords into the Have I Been Pwned service. The passwords will come in hashed pairs, so the raw passwords won't be known. They'll be added to the site's growing list of about 11 billion passwords. Given you can already download Have I Been Pwned's database, presumably the FBI dumps will be added to this, so we'll have direct access to the passwords, or at least the hashes of those passwords, found in FBI raids. In true Hollywood style, a drug dealer has been convicted based on an encrypted message he sent consisting of a picture of a block of cheese. Going by the name Toffee Force, our criminal here was a user of the infamous Encrochat messaging service. Encrochat was a popular communications network used by criminals worldwide. Encrochat sold phones disguised as Android devices. They looked totally normal, but when you powered them on by holding the power and volume buttons, they'd load into Encrochat OS. Designed with privacy in mind, it locked down the camera, GPS and microphone by default and allowed access to the Encrochat messaging service. For one reason or another, using his device, Mr. Toffee Force sent his criminal mates a picture of cheese, M&S Blue Stilton to be precise. However, the police raided and shut down Encrochat last year, revealing a treasure trove of communications. They found the cheesy picture and tracked down Toffee Force using his fingerprints in the photo. He was eventually convicted of dealing a whole host of drugs, which I'm not going to mention as that word salad will definitely get me demonetized. He was sent down for 13 years and 6 months. Maltronics is a website run by myself where you can find an array of super cool pentesting products. Our gear is used in over 100 countries and you can get 10% off with code Satonic. Trusted by hobbyists, pentesters and educational institutions, you can learn more over at maltronics.com. If you want to see more of this kind of video, make sure to let me know in those comments and turn on sub notifications so you don't miss any hacking news. For behind the scenes footage, make sure to follow me on the Instagrams. As always, sources will be linked in the video description. Stay tuned for more hacking videos and have a good one.